What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. Hey, go give me a subscribe on this YouTube channel if you're looking at it. Go give me a like, a comment, a 5-star review if you're listening to this on the podcast. But today we're going to talk about the Texas offensive line and where that unit is headed to in 2021. All right, so just a couple things that I do know and that you guys know right now when it comes to the offensive line is that we lost Samuel Cosme. He's going to the league, and Derek Kerstader is coming back due to that gruesome injury he had against Kansas State. Now, if the season were to start today, if it were up to me, and it's not up to me, but if it were up to me, the starting lineup from left tackle to right tackle will be Andre Carrick at left tackle, right? Left guard would be Junior Angilau. Center would be Jake Majors. Right guard would be Tyler Johnson. Right tackle will be Derek Kerstader. Now, I think those are our top 5 offensive linemen that we have on this team, which is a little concerning about what happened from last year. Jake Majors played outstanding, at center against Kansas State and in the bowl game. Derek Kerstader is a natural right tackle, especially for this team. Christian Jones, I think, was out of place. I don't think he was the guy who probably should have been starting, but I get it. They didn't want to play Jake Majors last year early on because he was a true freshman. And that's a problem that Texas has been having here over the last 5 or 6 years, actually 7 years, playing guys before they're ready. Even though we've made the best of it with Connor Williams, he played at left tackle as a true freshman, ended up going to the Cowboys. Cosme came in as a freshman. He's going to get drafted here first, probably first or second round this year. But we shouldn't have to do that, especially at a program like Texas. That's why I think, just for the simple, purposes of building up players, having players actually get developed here at a Division I school, I think Texas needs to go very, very hard and look hard after a starting left tackle in the transfer market, just so that Andre Carrick can sit down, be groomed, get ready to start here in the next coming years. I think he might be ready this year, but we don't need a might right now. We need a left tackle that we know is going to get the job done. I love Carrick's footwork. I think he has great footwork. I think he's going to be great. He's lean. He's very quick. A lot of lateral quickness in for a big body like that at 290 pounds or so. But I think he needs this maybe another year in the weight room to bulk up a little bit more to be able to take on those defensive ends here in the Power 5. Now, what I do think Texas needs to do too is build up that depth. And I think if you bring in a grad transfer left tackle, you'll instantly have Carrick as your depth at left tackle to end up starting the next year because the depth at every one of these offensive line positions is not where it needs to be right now. The depth at tackle, we got Christian Jones, and also we have Jalen Garth. Okay, both guys are young. Jones played a lot last year. Could have used just a tad bit more grooming. Garth is coming off of a nasty knee injury his senior year in high school. So, yeah, we got to look at those two things. The depth at guard, Logan Parr, who was a freshman last year, Isaiah Hufkin, who was a redshirt freshman last year or a sophomore, and Denzel Okafor, who was the starter last year at right guard. However, I think Tyler Johnson just played a little bit better than he did. So I think Okafor should probably end up being the backup. We'll see what the staff does. That's the beauty about having a brand new staff, is there's not going to be any favoritism. The guy who should win the job is going to win because they don't have those relationships built in with these kids. Okay, center position, the backup is going to be Rafidi Girmay, who didn't play bad when he had his opportunities, but Jake Majors by far should be the starting center of this team in 2021. The incoming freshmen that we have, guys, we have Max Merrill and we have Hayden Connor. Those guys should not see the field for a couple years. That's what makes good teams great, is when they're able to get those offensive linemen, sit them down for a couple years, let them marinate in that weight room, let them marinate in the film room, and then they come through as monsters here as a redshirt sophomore or a true sophomore or a true junior. They come in to be ready to step in and be absolute game day changing starters here for this team for the future. Part of the reason why I think Tom Herman lost his job, it's because he wasn't able to recruit the offensive line the way that it was supposed to be recruited, especially in 2021, where it was a monumental year in the state of Texas. We had the freaking Brockenmeyer twins, man. Those kids should be Texas Longhorns to this day. Their dad is a Longhorn. He was an all-pro. Well, He was a All-American here at Texas, played in the league for some time. Those kids live in Austin. They should be Longhorns, man. They should be Longhorns. Or, yeah, they should be Longhorns. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to Alabama, right? And they're going to have some really good careers. I would have loved to see them here at Texas, but they didn't come here because our O-line development here has not been the greatest. We've only had one offensive lineman drafted, I think, in the last 7 years, and that's Connor Williams. Okay, we'll have two, with Cosme, but that is not a good look for Texas. So what does this tell us? Texas went out and got Cal Flood from Alabama, the best offensive line coach in the SEC, one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. And what's that tell us, guys, is that Cal Flood is going to have to earn his money this year. I think he can get it done. He does a lot of great drills when it comes to footwork and lateral quickness for his linemen. Just go look at some of his videos on YouTube. I love to watch how he develops these guys. It's going to be great to see how he does. But the Texas offensive line recruiting has to get much better here for the 2022 class. And it looks like he is going nationally to try to get recruits. He's trying to get recruits from New York and Virginia. And of course, he's going to stay home in Texas and try to get those guys here also. But Texas, our offensive line has to get better. Like I said, if we made no moves today, I think the offensive line, starting with Andre Carrick at left tackle, Junior Angelau at left guard, Jake Majors at center, Tyler Johnson at right guard, and Derek Kerstetter at right tackle is a good enough offensive line where we can handle some business and do some damage here in the Big 12 and do some great things. And that's a young, salty line. The only person who is senior on that line, is Junior Angelau and Derek Kerstetter. And those guys, once they leave after this year, could, have some guys step in and take their spots. However, that's a good, young, salty line mixed in with a couple, veterans that can do some damage. I think that'd be a good line. But they got to keep recruiting to get some depth there because we need it. We need it. We missed big time in the 2021 cycle when it came to offensive line recruiting. We got to make up in 2022. But prior to that, I think we need to go pluck some guys from the grad transfer market, especially at left tackle. Even though I think Andre Carrick is going to be a really, really good left tackle, and he played really well those last 2 games of the season, I think that we need to go get a bona fide left tackle so that Carrick can sit down, guys, and marinate for another year so that he can be ready to become a monster the next year as a true junior. So on that note, guys, hey, do you. Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. We always end all our episodes on that, man. So we're out of here, man. Hook 'em.